on satellite, on Freeview, on cable, on radio, on mobile, on the web and around the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7.
Tonight, back again, former President Chandrika Kumaratunga appointed as the new SLFP organizer for Attanagalla, Welgama and Mahindananda removed. Protest in the north, a Harthal campaign initiated by the Chief Minister of Northern Province. New leadership, Nissanka Kara appointed as the new chairman of Litro Gas. Solid waste management. Has the government kept its promises since Matata Moolah? Tonight, a First at 9 in-depth report. And in international headlines, negotiations underway. The EU begins fresh talks with the UK after Brexit. Well, it's Friday, the 13th of October 2017. Good evening to all our viewers across Sri Lanka and around the world. I'm Mahesh Johnny and thank you for making us a part of your evening. Here's a first look at local news. Parliamentarians of the United People's Freedom Alliance, Kumar Welgama and Mahindananda Aludgamage, were removed today as organizers of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. The SLFP also appointed 50 new organizers for electorates, with former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga being among them. The changes are made by the chairman of the SLFP, President Maithripala Sirisena, after assessing SLFP electoral organizers in Colombo yesterday.
Former Minister Mahindananda Aludgamage was removed from his position of SLFP organizer for the Nawalapitiya seat. The former minister was replaced by Central Provincial Councillor H.A. Ranasinghe. Parliamentarian Kumara Welgama was also removed as the SLFP organizer of Matugama. He is replaced by former Deputy Minister Sumitra Priyangania Veera. The appointment of former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga, an advisor of the SLFP, being appointed as the organizer of Attanagalla carries special significance. Former President Kumaratunga replaces Sarana Gunawardena, who is also a former Deputy Minister. Meanwhile, former Minister Priyankara Jayaratne was removed from the position of SLFP organizer for the Anamadu electorate. Former Minister Priyankara Jayaratne was replaced by former Northwestern Provincial Councillor Anand Sarath Kumara, who was accused of forcing a school teacher kneel. UPFA Nationalist MP Malit Jayatilaka is appointed as the new SLFP organizer for the Bandaragama electorate. Meanwhile, various views were expressed regarding the new appointments made today.
Chandrika Bandaranaike was appointed as the SLFP organizer for Attanagalla. We thank her for that. Attanagalla electorate in the past helped SLFP gain victories. We request former President Mahinda Rajapaksa to bring victory to the SLFP from the Beliatta electorate. Attorneys at law Nissanka Kara is appointed as the new chairman of Litro Gas Lanka Limited. The post left vacant following the removal of Shalila Munasinghe. The appointment is made by the chairman of Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation, Hemaka Amarasuriya, based on the recommendations of the Public Enterprise Development Ministry. The appointment of Nana Kara, a senior lawyer and President's Counsel, comes following the removal of his predecessor Munasinghe, who was recently arrested under the Money Laundering Act. Munasinghe was among several suspects arrested by police in Sri Lanka over the alleged money transfer of $1.1 million from Far Eastern International Bank of Taiwan to their personal account in Sri Lanka. On Wednesday, the Secretary to the Ministry of Public Enterprise Development, Ravindra Hema Vitharana, directed the chairman of the Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation Limited to remove Shalila Munasinghe from the post of chairman of Litro Gas Lanka Limited. He is currently in remand custody. Civil organizations, Tamil People's Council and National Campaign to Rescue Political Prisoners, chaired by Chief Minister of Northern Province C.V. Vigneshwaran, organized a Harthal campaign today. Members from 19 political organizations and 50 civil organizations are supporting the Harthal.
The Hartal campaign was organised with the initiation of Northern Province Chief Minister C.V. Vigneswaran to draw attention to the released political prisoners and express solidarity with prisoners who are engaged in a hunger strike within the Anuradhapura prison. Several protests were also organised in line with the campaign today. Stores were closed in Jaffna, Kilinochchi, Mullaitivu, Vaunia and Mena districts. In support of the Hartal campaign, interprovincial private bus services in Northern Province also suspended its travels. As a result, daily lives were seen disrupted in the areas.
President Maithripala Sirisena directed relevant sections to implement a special program to reserve the Thampita temples. The president gave these directions at a meeting on conservation of Thampita temples held today at the Presidential Secretariat. Meanwhile, the report of recommendations for speedy and effective implementation of criminal justice was handed over to President Maithripala Sirisena at the Presidential Secretariat yesterday. The report of recommendations for speedy and effective implementations of criminal justice was handed over to President Maithripala Sirisena at the Presidential Secretariat yesterday. Compiled by the Sectoral Oversight Committee on Legal Affairs and Media, the objective of the report is to classify and present recommendations to create an environment for the Attorney General's Department and the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption to work efficiently, understanding the current needs of the society. The Sectoral Oversight Committee on Legal Affairs and Media was appointed to scrutinize the functions of the Ministries of Justice, Parliamentary Reforms and Mass Media, as well as to evaluate the efficiency of those ministries. Speaking here, President Sirisena pointed out the importance of the development of human resources as well as providing infrastructure facilities while updating the judicial sector with new technologies. Also in local news, JPP parliamentarian Sunil Handunati says that the Audit draft bill is prepared to encourage theft among the ministers and the parliamentarians. He further states that the Audit draft bill will not be allowed to be passed in Parliament. He made these remarks speaking at a media briefing in Mathura today, adding that the Audit draft bill has been heavily amended by the Cabinet.
The National Audit Bill is completely exposed by the Cabinet. The Cabinet says that the Auditor General should audit the way ministers want. The Auditor General is not there to listen to what the ministers want. We can understand the hidden agendas of the ministers and MPs by the way they treat the Audit Bill. They want to legalise theft. We will not allow it to be passed in Parliament in line with the whims of some people.
The chairman of the Elections Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, says that dates for nominations will be declared after the 19th of next month. He expressed these views addressing media following a discussion with Minister of Provincial Council and Local Government, Faisal Mustafa, this morning.
The bill, which includes the number of councillors in the provincial councils that are to be gazetted, was handed over to the chairman of the Election Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, by Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government, Faisal Mustafa, this morning. The issues of local governments in Pudukudirippu, Mudubadapattu, Nuwara and Ambagamuwa were discussed. The Minister and the Election Commissioner addressed media following the discussion.
The issue of the population of Nuwara and Ambagamuwa local governments exceeding 200,000 people was brought up today. We are holding discussions with Tamil parties. We are taking measures to increase the number of local governments in Ambagamuwa and Nuwara and to issue this gazette. We hope the minister will issue the gazette notification at least by next Tuesday. If so, we can take a decision as to when we can announce the date for the nominations during the Commission's meeting on the 19th of next month. However, we believe that we will be able to hold elections by January.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back, everyone. Chief Dealer of Perpetual Treasuries Limited, Nuwan Salgado, appeared before the Commission of Inquiry for a second day today. At the commencement of today's sittings, President's Counsel Kalinga Indatissa, representing Perpetual Treasuries Limited, cross-examined him.
producing a document which was maintained by Nuan Salgado, which contained information about giving money to an official from the EPF in 2014, President's Counsel Kaling Indathissa pointed out that an amount of 11 million rupees was mentioned under a car purchase. When the President's Counsel questioned the witness if he accepts the term car does not refer to an actual person but for a purchase, he said yes. It was also put to the witness that it is a document where Perpetual Treasuries paid an amount of 11 million rupees to Perpetual Asset Management and can't be sure whether this is a gratification. He also accepted that he didn't see any third party being gratified. When inquired as to who asked him to record the transaction under car, Nuan Salgado said it was the CEO of Perpetual Treasuries, Kasun Palisena, who said so. In the meantime, Commission member Supreme Court Justice Prasanna Jayawardena said that the Commission is considering whether to take action against a television channel where an individual gave a complete fabrication on the Commission's proceedings during a morning program today.
Also in local news, a prison inmate attempted to escape custody while being escorted to the Colombo Magistrates Court today. Prison guards had to fire warning shots to recapture the inmate. Ukrainian couple who are facing the death sentence for charges relating to slamming a baby on the floor and killing the baby in Kotahena were escorted to the Colombo Magistrates Court today for a different case. Police said one prison guard sustained minor injuries when they fired warning shots as a Ukrainian inmate attempted to escape custody. Several bullet holes were also seen in the premises of the court complex. The case related to the request by Perpetual Treasuries to reconsider the suspension of the company's license was postponed by the Supreme Court today. Attorneys representing the company requested time to present their case as 2 new appointments are made in the company. Well, in one of our feature story for this week, remember Matata Moolah? Remember how the whole country was angry at the government and at authorities, and almost with everyone blaming that a solution for our garbage problem was not found, and hence a disaster like Matata Moolah. Now, soon after that incident, several steps were taken by the government to solve the matter. Tonight, First at 9's Manusha Jatilaka takes an in-depth look as to how this has progressed.
It was the 14th of April, a day to celebrate, for it was the Sinhala and Hindu New Year. But the usually festive day suddenly transformed to one of country's most darkest days, with the news of Matata Moolah garbage dump swallowing all the nearby houses and numerous lives within its reach.
For many of us, it might have been just another disaster that happened in this country. But for the people who lived here, who went through that, it was a disaster that scarred their lives for the rest of their days.
Government's perpetual lack of interest on sustainable solid waste management was highly criticized, and the authorities were pressurized to take the responsibility. It is in this backdrop the international community offered its expertise on solid waste management methods, with the World Bank offering to fund these projects within the country. As a result, a large-scale sustainable solid waste management project was initiated by the Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development, which is to be implemented under 3 phases. The short-term phase focuses on stabilizing and rehabilitating the Matata Moolah garbage dump, which stood more than 200 feet tall in the Kolonava area. The Urban Development Authority sees dumping garbage in Matata Moolah, and at present, waste is directed to 2 alternative sites in Keravalapitia and Dumpe, which are clear of human habitation. There, however, remains a problem. Due to biological reactions in decomposition process of solid waste at the dump, organic as well as inorganic gases generated have accumulated over the year. One such gas is the highly flammable methane. This also brings the risk of explosion when the gas achieves high concentrations. So, what has the government done so far to solve this issue?
We have stabilized it, and now we are to go for what you call the long-term plan to convert the Matata Moolah dump to a kind of a nice landscape, a kind of a forest patch and a linear park in Matata Moolah dump. We have been doing the monitoring right from the beginning, and still it is on. in no time I would say that the Ministry of Megapolis would start off the project of rehabilitation of Matata Moolah.
Meanwhile, the medium-term phase carried out by Sri Lanka Land Reclamation and Development Corporation focuses on maintaining waste until the proposed long-term solutions are put in place.
Right now, SLLRDC is managing the entire waste generated in the CMC area and the suburban areas, mainly from Kaduwela, Paliyagoda, Kalaniya, Wattala and Kolonnawa. We have developed a waste park at the Kerawala pit here. Per day, we are receiving about 750 metric tons of waste. Out of that, 300 metric tons of degradable waste and producing compost out of that. The yield will be 25 to 50 metric tons per day compost. That compost is very much required for development of our productivity in the agriculture sector. By using the compost, we can increase the productivity of the farm yards and reduce the importation of the inorganic fertilizer, and could be reduce the impact from the inorganic fertilizer usage.
The third and final phase, which is long-term, includes 2 projects that would be implemented simultaneously. This will include secure and sanitary landfilling in Aruwakkalu and the establishment of 3 waste-to-energy sites. The Aruwakkalu project is under the purview of the Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development, while the 3 waste-to-energy projects are done by 3 private companies, namely Western Power Corporation Limited, KCHT Holdings and Fairway Waste Management Private Limited. Professor Jaiveera said the project in Aruwakkalu will be implemented within a year.
What we are supposed to do is to bring all the waste into transfer station, which is to be established in Kalaniya, and through the rail it will go to Aruwakkalu in Puttalam area. There we are going to dump in a scientific manner in Aruwakkalu in the lands which have already been harnessed for limestones for the cement manufacturing. 1,200 metric tons of waste could be handled easily.
Executive Director of Fairway Waste Management Dr. Prasad Kulatunga meanwhile went on to explain the Karadiyana Solid Waste Management project that is to be implemented by the company.
We are proposing a hybrid technology where the biological waste will be treated with a biological process and the rest of the waste will be treated by mass burn incineration, which is the most widely used end-of-the-pipe waste treatment method in the world. It is only practical way because not all waste is the same. Waste is inhomogeneous and you can't treat them. Lots of people think that you can treat them, do composting. Yes, composting should be done at household levels, but it cannot be the solution for the entire waste stream. Waste finally is collected by municipalities and local governments and it has to end up at some landfill.
On to business news now. Minister of Finance and Mass Media, Mangala Samaraweera, attended the meetings of finance ministers of the Commonwealth countries held at the headquarters of the International Monetary Fund in Washington, D.C., USA. Canada chaired this year's meeting where 52 finance ministers of member states across 6 regions participated. CFMM provides a uniquely informal platform for dialogue among the group of companies on key economic issues of different economies of member states. The ministerial plenary agenda for this year focused on the theme of advancing jobs and resilience through innovation. Let's take you to the stock market now. Colombo shares closed with a modest gain today as investors took a breather after a 3-day rally which pushed the index by 1.6%. The ASPL closed at 6,632.30 with a gain of 10.74 index points, while the S&P SL20 index fell marginally by 2.22 index points to 3,915.42. Now, market turnover was 688 million rupees, while foreign investors were net sellers with outflow of 9 million rupees. Now let's cross over to Imeshi Fernando for a detailed report.
The turnover was 688.41 million rupees with 30.5 million shares changing hands in 7,756 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was 3,007.86 billion rupees. Today's foreign purchases were 126.33 million rupees and foreign sales were 135.12 million rupees.
A bit of world markets. World stocks rose for a fourth straight day today on expectations of broad-based global growth, while the dollar headed for its worst week in 5 as investors awaited U.S. inflation data. Now, earlier today, Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan hit a 10-year high, up of 0.3%. European shares rose to their highest level in nearly 4 months, helped by some well-received earning updates. The Pan-European Stock X 600 rose 0.3% and was set for its 5th straight week of gains, as were world stocks. Now, Germany's DAX index was flat, just below the fresh all-time high hit in the previous sessions, while Britain's FTSE eased back 0.4% after a recorded close yesterday. In currencies, the dollar stayed on the defensive after minutes from the last U.S. Federal Reserve meeting showed policymakers remain divided on U.S. inflation prospects. Now, here's a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies during the day today.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
On to international news now. China's foreign ministry said today that China will continue to actively participate in the UNESCO and call for other countries to support the institution after the US and Israel announced they were quitting. Chinese foreign ministry spokeswoman Hu Qingyang made these remarks at a media briefing held in Beijing today.
UNESCO's mission is to push forward international collaboration through the fields of education, science and culture, as well as promote mutual understanding and the fusion of civilizations, safeguard the world's peace and realize common development. China hopes all countries can contribute to this.
The EU is to begin preparing for its post-Brexit trade negotiations with the UK while refusing to discuss the matter with the British government. An internal draft document suggests that 27 EU countries should discuss trade among themselves while officials in Brussels prepare the details. The draft text could be yet revised.
Speaking in Luxembourg, EU Commission Chief Jean-Claude Juncker said a lack of compromise over UK's financial commitments was impeding progress, saying they have to pay. As the 5th round of talks ended in Brussels yesterday, the EU's chief negotiator, Michel Barnier, said there was a deadlock over the UK's Brexit bill. Meanwhile, United Kingdom Secretary of State for exiting EU, David Davis, expressed views yesterday in a press conference about the matter.
This is not a process of agreeing specific commitments. We have been clear this can only come later. But it is an important step so that when the time comes, we'll be able to reach a political agreement quickly and simply.
Let's now take a look at some other stories making news across the world.
US officials confirmed that the number of dead in wildfires sweeping Northern California has climbed to 31. 700 people remain missing as at least 22 fires rampaged across the state's famous Wine County. The updated casualty figures mean the wildfires are the deadliest in California since 1933. Australian authorities say 3 skydivers died after mid-air collision in far north Queensland, Australia. 2 men in their 30s and a woman in her 50s are known to be the victims of the tragic accident. Police said initial investigations found one person may have collided with tandem skydivers as their parachutes failed to deploy correctly. 36 giant panda cubs born this year made their first appearance to the public today at a couple of bases of the China Conservation and Research Center for the giant panda. 42 giant panda cubs have been born within this year, the highest recorded number of births since the breeding program began.
You are watching Sri Lanka's trusted news brand, Derana 24/7.
In sports, the International Cricket Council is encouraging countries to experiment with 4-day tests while giving the green light to a test championship and a one-day international league.
Speaking in Auckland today, the chief executive of the ICC, Dave Richardson, said that a 13-team ODI league would be introduced from 2020 and it will determine which teams qualified for the World Cup 2 years later. Richardson also elaborated on the proposed Test Championship as well.
The ICC board also approved a trial of 4-day test matches, which will commence almost with immediate effect as soon as we can standardise the playing conditions that will be used for those 4-day matches, and that trial period will commence up to the World Cup in 2019. So our priority has obviously been to develop an international cricket structure that gives context and meaning across all 3 formats, and in particular in the Test series. But we still have to acknowledge that, the sustainability of Test cricket is still there's a question mark there.
Also in sports, there were many outstanding performances on the second day of the 33rd All-Ireland School Games at the Diagama Mahinda Rajapaksa Stadium yesterday. Yesterday's events got underway early to make up the time lost due to heavy rain on the first day of the Games.
The 100-meter final of both girls and boys were held yesterday, which saw some encouraging performances. In the under-16 girls final, Sandeepa Henderson of Gateway College sprinted her way to her second gold of the meet to go with her first place finish in the long jump. Henderson clocked a brilliant 12.67 to win the race convincingly. In the under-18 girls 100-meter finals, Evanti Meshika of St. Mary's Convent Mathura edged out favourite Shalinda Jansen of Gateway College, clocking 12.37 seconds. Meanwhile, Johan Danushka and World Junior Athletic Championship representative Shalika Santosh qualified for the under-18 boys 100-meter finals. CM Yoda Singh from St. Mary's College Kegaul turned the tables on the pre-tournament favourites, who included a World Junior Athletic Championship representative, to win the boys 100-meter final with a time of 10.90 seconds.
A bit of tennis now. Richard Gasquet won the all-French encounter at the Shanghai Masters yesterday, beating Gil Simons to advance to the quarterfinals.
Gasquet was forced to work incredibly hard in an up-and-down contest against Gilles Simon. With Simon fighting right until the end, it was ultimately Gasquet who came out on top. Despite interruptions by rain, Richard Gasquet won the 3-set battle 7-5, 6-7, 6-3. Gasquet will play Roger Federer in the quarterfinals after the Swiss beat Ukrainian Alexander Dolgopolov 6-4, 6-2.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. Now, the cooler weather experienced in the central part of the country is set to continue, with temperatures expected to be in the low 20s. The southeastern region, however, stretching from Trincomalee to Hambantota, will experience temperatures in and around 30 degrees Celsius. Wet weather, meanwhile, is forecasted in the western part of the island, with heavy rains expected in some places in the western province. Now, that's your weather, and up next is your city by city forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7. I'm Mahesh Johnny. And before we go, we'd like to take you to the Kaudula National Park in the heart of the Cultural Triangle. The park is a hotspot for sightseeing elephants and other species of wildlife. Thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy the Friday the 13th. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.